The scene was almost too painful to watch. Outside, a quiet funeral home tucked away from the world's spotlight, the silence was broken not by noise, but by grief so heavy it seemed to hang in the air. Several news agencies and TV houses were heavily represented. Cameras captured the moment Diogo Jota's wife, Ruth Cardoso, stepped through the doors of the mortuary facility, being held as she could barely walk by herself. And in that single image, the heartbreak of an entire nation crystallized. Just 10 days ago, she was a bride, glowing in white, smiling through vows that promised forever. Now she clung to those around her just to stay upright. Her hands trembled as security guards and family members gently ushered her toward the garage nearby. Her eyes were hidden behind large sunglasses, but her body told the story her lips didn't need to. This was the rawness of loss. This was devastation, public and unfiltered. It wasn't a red carpet event, but vehicles lined the street like they might at a gala. Different models of vehicles, each one carrying a mourner whose life had been touched by Diogo Jota. Some were family, friends, mentors, and still others were simply there to stand in the presence of the pain, to honor a man whose light had been dimmed far too soon. One by one, the cars pulled away, slowly, solemnly, like a funeral procession before the procession. No words were spoken in the footage, but the silence carried weight. The kind of silence you only hear when hearts are breaking. Ruth was flanked by family members on both sides, likely by close relative or her late husband's professional colleague, gripped her hands and whispered into her ear as she entered the vehicle. Her steps were small, almost unsure, as though her body hadn't quite caught up with the new reality. This wasn't just a personal loss. This was a shared wound, a public mourning. The death of Diogo Jota didn't just belong to his family, it belonged to millions. The boy from Porto who conquered England, who inspired a generation of young athletes, was now gone. But for Ruth, it wasn't about football. It wasn't about trophies or headlines. She lost her husband, her partner, the father of her children, the man she had just pledged her life to. As the car door closed behind her, the weight of the moment settled over the crowd. You could see it on their faces, stoic, pale, distant. It was real, unstaged. A woman leaving a funeral home, broken, a football legend's last earthly goodbye. We often idolize athletes to the point we forget their humanity. But here, we're reminded. They are husbands, sons, brothers. And when they die, it's not just a team that hurts. It's a home, a family, a woman who thought she'd grow old with the man, now lifeless. Ruth's pain is something no wife should endure. And yet, she bore it with a quiet courage that touched even those who didn't know her name a week ago. She didn't need to speak. Her heartbreak said everything. In the days that followed, memorials grew outside Anfield.
I support Everton. I work with a lot of colleagues in work who support Liverpool, and obviously it's just like touched the city as well. Like, you know, sort of like Everton and Liverpool fans. It's just a really sad day yesterday, emotional, and obviously, like, you know, I'm a football fan and it touches everyone.
Fans brought flowers, scarves, handwritten notes. Someone taped a wedding photo to the wall with the words, "You were supposed to have forever." The image went viral overnight. In a world obsessed with noise, it was the quiet moment outside that funeral home that said the most. And that's why it matters, because some stories don't need narration, just truth. And this was truth. If you've ever lost someone too soon, you know this pain. If you've ever had to hold someone up when they couldn't walk on their own, you understand this grief. And if you've ever seen a future disappear in a flash, you feel this story. Share this video, not for the views, not for the headlines, but so the world never forgets the name Diogo Jota. Not just the footballer, but the husband, the father, the man who left behind a love that will echo long after the final whistle. Rest in peace, Diogo, and strength to you, Root. You are not alone.
Podem ouvir. Vai ser. Ei! Deve estar a perfeito. Não sei se estão a ver as imagens.